Hi, Michael Israel here with John L. Scott. Now that we're into April, let's take a look at the market performance through the month of March, but also through the first quarter of 2026. On the surface, it looks like we're just kind of in the typical trend of an uptick in activity, uptick in sales, uptick in new listings on the market, as we typically see in the spring. To be a little bit more specific, pending sales and closed sales are up in Seattle, the East Side, and King County as a whole. That's all pretty typical for this time of the year. Median days on market are down month over month, meaning that homes are in general taking less time to sell. So all of that data basically points to a pretty typical spring market trend. However, if we actually look a little bit deeper at some of the data, it does tell a different story. So anecdotally, traffic in general has been down. That's buyer traffic. And that's been the case over the last several weeks. Why is that? Interest rates have been rising. They actually hit a low just below 6% and kind of in the high fives. And that was at the end of February. And then since then, they've been gradually rising. Interest rates now on average are close to 6.5%. There's an indirect connection to the increase in oil prices that has led to the rise in interest rates. And of course, there's a direct connection to the Iran war that led to the rise in oil prices. So now for that deeper analysis of the data, let's look at month over month closed sales. Closed sales through March were up significantly over February. All of the month over month numbers certainly suggested that we were headed for a better than average increase in terms of the spring market activity. But let's keep in mind that closed sales are sales that went under contract, probably about 30 days prior. So let's look at month over month pending sales, which of course is a more current data point. Month over month pending sales are up through March, which again, typical for a spring market. However, they're not up as high as they typically are. All that data suggests that we were likely going to see a pretty robust spring market, but then all that turned when we saw the increase in mortgage rates. And so now it's looking like more of a kind of a mild increase in terms of a spring market. Underlying all of that is the fact that inventory through Q1 of this year is as high as it's been in over 10 years. So a lot of choice for buyers in terms of inventory, although buyers' purchasing power has been impacted because of those increased interest rates. If you have any questions or would like to see some data for your neighborhood, please DM me, and thanks for watching.